content on this channel is for educational purposes only. Do not trust anything that Evan or Joseph or even Steph or even the lovely guests that we have on the show today. Please consult professionals and do not take anything that we talk about today as investment advice. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Bytes Digital. Today, I'm excited to actually have some great guests here building out some interesting use cases inside of DeFi and bringing it to the Cosmos. First and foremost, thank you guys so much for coming on to the show. Common, I hope I pronounced that correctly. And Meadow, thank you so much for coming on and joining us.
Thanks
Pleasure is all ours.
All right. Evan, we've got you here joining us as well today. I know that you haven't heard of Nolus. This is a new project for you that kind of came out of nowhere for you from your perspective. I wanted to chat with you, Evan, real quick. What your thoughts are, your immediate thoughts are on a DeFi lease, at least in general. What can that open up from an investment perspective? Because to me, I had never considered the possibility of taking out a lease and expanding your actual approach to that. I just wanted to hear your general thinkings of like, have you had or has anyone ever kind of brought this kind of concept to DeFi as you're aware?
So the only sort of frame of reference I have for a lease is like leasing a car, which I kind of don't even understand that. So I'd be curious to hear about what exactly a DeFi lease is. Checked out the website. Looks like, you know, there's some lending and borrowing maybe going on there with like your Bitcoin. I've got some Bitcoin. Maybe I'll use it. So I don't know. I'm curious to hear from these guys what exactly is going on with the lease part of it, because I go to the car dealership and that goes over my head. So maybe it'll make sense in DeFi.
Common, what is going on with the leasing that is coming to Nolus? What are you guys doing? And how does it just principally work on your guys' platform?
I love where we started because actually a DeFi lease and leasing a car is a good example from the regular Web2 financial world. So how do you buy a car on a lease? You provide a down payment and you immediately start using it and then have some installments, repayments from time to time. And at the end of that, you have repaid the car, you're still using it. Something similar here, and that's the idea why we came up with the DeFi lease, because a user would be able to provide a down payment in order to enter a contract and purchase more than his current equity, walk it in the smart contract, and then immediately afterwards start using it. For example, for DeFi strategies, different yield optimization strategies. So he's not only having more exposure because he's taking a loan, he's having low liquidation rates because of how we structured it. And he is also using the asset, for example, for liquid staking or for other yield optimization schemes. That's why a DeFi lease, where ownership stays with the user and you get more for your money.
Interesting. So someone can actually come to your guys' platform and take out a lease. And what does this lease represent for the end user? So they're putting down a down payment, and I'm assuming this down payment is represented in crypto. So like, let's say if I'm a person who shows up with 5 ETH, I can show up with 5 ETH and actually receive more ETH leaving your guys' platform. However, I have to provide that 5 ETH into the lease.
You have to provide a down payment. It doesn't need to be a digital asset. You can actually come with stables. You can ramp some fiat. That's the beauty of it. You're free to do different down payments. And once you, for example, use your stables, your ETH as down payment, let's say that their total value is 20,000. You are actually able to get a loan in stables for additional 150,000 above that, your 20,000. So you basically get another 30,000 in stables. And now you have 50,000, 20 from you, 30 from the contract, from the protocol. Once you do that, you are able to purchase the asset you want to purchase. For example, Atom. You want to purchase 50,000 atoms at price of 10. So basically 5,000 atoms are purchased for you. You walk the price. Those go into the pool, meaning your non-custodial wallet and your smart contract. And now both the down payment together with the loan actually act as your collateral, which reduces your margin call risk.
Interesting. Okay. Evan, do you have any questions?
So is it, I guess this is like a two-part question. So one, is it non-custodial, but two, is it set up in a way that you can you can deposit collateral and then just kind of go do whatever you want, or are there like fixed products that you have to use on the platform?
One, absolutely non-custodial, meaning you can use, for example, your Kepler, your Ledger, or you can create a new non-custodial wallet on our web app. Number two, it's fixed. Basically, you can do whatever is whitelisted by the protocol. For example, liquid staking could be whitelisted by the protocol. You would be able to liquid stake every single asset that has enough liquidity to be liquid staked. Then additional strategies to yield optimize the asset during the contract would emerge and would be whitelisted, but you wouldn't be able to just get the asset and get to another network and sell it, because both the loan and the down payment act as collateral, so they need to stay into the smart contract until full repayment. Once this is done, and the beauty of it is that if the price appreciates, of the asset appreciates in time, you can use that price appreciation to repay the remaining of the loan.
Okay. How so there is a form of leverage position for a user that does provide that. I guess my question is how are those leverage positions kind of maintained for the individual? Are there any sort of protections against like harsh liquidations? Because ideally, someone does take out a loan in a stable coin because it's going to be like denominated in that stable amount and that same stable value. But I guess I'm just asking two parts here. You can have a loan out on stables, but if you have your loan out on something that's volatile, like Atom, like Ethereum, like Bitcoin, is there some sort of mechanism in there that prevents someone from taking out too large of a loan and makes them losing their full down payment?
So basically here, maybe I can jump in here. So
yeah, go for it.
As you mentioned, you provide a down, as we mentioned, we provide a down payment, and then you get up to 150% of that as a loan. And using that down payment and the loan, you swap it to a volatile asset, right? And now this position is guaranteed by both the down payment and the loan. Of course, the system needs to have a reliable mechanism to liquidate that position should the price of the asset depreciates enough. And this is done via an oracle. And there are also multiple price feeders that are feeding prices in short, really quickly, and they're not only feeding, they're actually feeding the real price of the asset after a swap has been performed, and not just the quoted one, since we will be utilizing a DEX in the background via IBC and Etherchain accounts in the beginning, and this will be osmosis. So basically the oracle receives the price after which a swap would be performed, right? So also as a backup plan, every liquidation will have like sort of a buffer where this buffer is in the form of an assets that go like into an insurance pool, and this insurance pool can be also utilized in such scenarios. So it's more or less the mechanism is similar to like other crypto lending projects out there that have like oracles and stuff. So
the main difference here with the crypto lenders is that they actually get you fully liquidated after you reach the point of LTV that's unfavorable to them. Now, for example, most of them have a compound, whether centralized or decentralized, it doesn't really matter. They would fully liquidate you after approximately 35% drop of the price. They give you up to 50%, and they liquidate you after 35% drop of the price fully. Now, with Nolus, what we've tried to do is we actually give 3 times more, because we don't provide only 50%, but another 150. But because the down payment and the loan act as collateral, after 40 to 45% drop of the price, you would get only a partial liquidation. And this partial liquidation would return you to a healthier level. And then if the price continues dropping, it would do another partial liquidation. The final losing of down payment happens above 50% downsize, meaning decrease of the price, where the down payment is now eaten up. And if the price continues dropping, the full position would be fully liquidated, and the borrower would be losing their down payment. However, the lender on the other side, the one that has provided liquidity, would collect the full loan together with the interest.
Okay, interesting.
Gotcha. It sounds to me like this could be maybe at least of my knowledge, the first. Oh man, words are hard for me today, I guess. The first opportunity for people to like get leverage, because you mentioned osmosis a little bit ago. So this is like the first opportunity for people to potentially get leverage on what is traditionally just like an AMM swap type platform. Is that an accurate theory that I've just come up with?
Yeah, that's quite right, because the beauty of the Cosmos ecosystem as a whole is that it has this something called IBC, and with it you can interact with other blockchains and other protocols on those blockchains. And what we are actually doing is we're utilizing the strengths of those other app chains, meaning the deep liquidity of osmosis. And with IBC and interchain accounts, you're basically a borrower comes with their down payment, takes the loan, and in the background, those two get travel over to osmosis seamlessly and get swapped to the desired asset. And that's how you basically achieve like a sort of a cross-chain margin position.
That's super interesting. Operating in this vein, that's a pretty new vein to be operating in. How do you see this impacting entrance investors, or do you see this actually opening up a new audience? I guess, who are you guys trying to attract to use this platform? Are you trying to find the degens who are trying to expand their reach of like getting more assets? Because like from my perspective, that's my mindset when I hear this like opportunity. It's like I can provide the smaller down payment, but 3x essentially my exposure to the crypto space. And depending on price levels, this is probably historically one of the better levels to be doing that. That's not investment advice, but that's just kind of how I view it. But yeah, just want to know who you guys ideally see using this type of platform.
We basically touched a lot on the leasing and the loan and the lenders. But the platform, the Nolus platform, is a one-stop shop to anyone. So you would be actually able to buy crypto or sell crypto. You are able to create a non-custodial wallet. You can stake your crypto. You can earn rewards. So then you can take the DeFi lease. You can be a lender. You can use governance on the token. So basically a one-stop shop to anyone to interact with the protocol in a non-custodial way, fully non-custodial, non-centralized. So having that in mind, the users that we want to attract and through IBC and interchain accounts is all the users that are cross-chain. At the end, what we believe in is a UI that's really simple and do transactions in 2 or 3 clicks. And even people that are outside of the Cosmos ecosystem on a cross-chain level would be able to take our DeFi list, take our other opportunities, buy, sell, or whatever they want to do on the platform, and do it in a cross-chain way without understanding that they're switching networks, that they're going from one blockchain to another. So basically using their MetaMask, for example, to take the DeFi lease with 2 clicks, and then receiving that, walking it into a smart contract, and using that to liquid stake it on another network. And this is the beauty of IBC and interchain accounts, because we are able to do that. So
That's awesome.
users from everywhere, hopefully from Avalanche, from EVM chains, from Cosmos ecosystem, that the ones that want to be lenders, the ones that want to be borrowers, the ones that want to take a safer solution to lending, meaning non-collateralized, non-over-collateralized loans, the ones that want to buy and sell.
So of all the players you just kind of listed off there, one of them is the lenders. I'm curious, as a lender, there's a couple different markets out there that you can play with right now. How are you guys incentivizing the lenders to come in and provide their assets for people to go out and degen with?
Yeah, so basically anyone in our system who wants to be a lender basically needs to have USDC in their wallet and a fraction of NLS tokens, of course, to pay for gas fees. And in particular, at launch, we'll utilize a single stablecoin pool with Axelar USDC, which is the main stablecoin of choice for the Cosmos ecosystem. And yeah, so in terms of the yield for the lenders, I like to split in two parts. And the first one is the real yield that's coming from the active lease positions that borrowers are paying. So each borrower is paying a fixed APR percentage, and let's say that a borrower pays, borrowers on average pay 12%, 10% go to the lenders immediately, because we're utilizing something called like a cash basis model, and 2% go to the protocol. And this is like one of the part of the yield for the lenders, and an additional part of the yield is comes from the NOS incentives pool that we use to incentivize additionally lenders, and that's more or less it.
Okay. That's actually really interesting that you guys open this up for both the lenders and the borrowers here. I'd like to hear a little bit deeper. I know you guys mentioned it and touched upon the clear difference between how this is an objectively better situation for the end user. I wanted to hear a little bit deeper into how this actual model is better. I would love to hear you guys' like positioning on that front, because it really is objectively a better exposure when comparing to the vast majority of other lending protocols.
Well, in terms of lending, what I think that we are offering here is, first of all, non-custodial solution. This is quite important because we've seen what happens to other centralized entities that are trying to or using funds for something else. But
Yeah.
once you are in a fully non-custodial solution with your wallet, with your keys, you as a borrower actually get more exposure. You get it at lower liquidation risk. You get ownership of the asset. You get degen availabilities to liquid stake, to do other yield optimization schemes. You lock the price as a borrower. If the price appreciates, the appreciation is entirely yours to keep. And at the end of this movie, you actually own the asset. It's theirs. Once you repay in your stables, the owning stables, you actually have the asset, and you can swap that asset. You can continue using it, or you can convert it to stables and get it out and withdraw it. So it's up to you. But it gives you the opportunity as a borrower to be on the safer side, on the margin call risk, with a fixed, never changing interest rate.
That's awesome.
Do you guys have a demo, working demo of this, or something we can look at just to see kind of a visual representation of what we're talking about?
We are actually at the very final stage of opening our beta, which means that probably in the next 2 weeks we would be opening up that beta to the public. Up until then, we are at the very final stage, so we don't want to disclose anything. But this beta would be able to, you can do anything on the platform that we've just discussed.
Will it be like a testnet launch?
It would be like an incentivized even testnet, meaning that people that get into different stuff like taking a loan or repaying a loan or getting a buy or sell position, whatever would be incentivized through our token.
That's awesome. Okay.
We actually have a live running testnet at the moment, which will pretty soon update with the latest version of the smart contracts. And from there on, like Kamen mentioned, everyone will be able to test, fully test the whole lease process and get familiar with the product itself. Because the best way to familiarize with yourself with a certain product is by testing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like my first exposure to lending and just using crypto was through Anchor Protocol. And using Anchor Protocol was my first exposure to actually having sovereign custody, debatable sovereign custody if you don't think that networks are actually controlled by individuals. But regardless, you still have the ability to manage your funds and see that leverage position. And like many, I saw huge visceral pain from my leverage position. Even in those market downturns, you witness this cascading event of liquidations. Does Nolus have to worry about this? Because just from the sheer fact that you guys aren't custodial and aren't taking that asset in there and holding it like hostage, I would just love to know what you guys have considered as safety measures in your guys' design to prevent any sort of like storm of cascading liquidations.
Well, it pretty much depends of what kind of contracts and when at what prices borrowers have taken. Because if it happens so that prices of all digital assets happen to drop by like 70-80%, none of the solutions would, so the cascading liquidations would happen. Now, the important part here for us is not whether the borrower would be available to lose their full down payment, so the DeFi lease. It's more like collecting the cash for the other side, the lenders. because in that way we guarantee that the lenders that have provided stable coins into the pools are guaranteed to not lose it. And this is where partial liquidations come into force, and it's quite essential to happen on time. That's why we would be using a couple of DEXs, which would be taking our protocol would be taking into consideration the depth of each pool. And if the depth of one of the pools, for example, is thin enough or doesn't have liquidity, it goes to another DEX with another pool. Of course, this would be in time. With different DEXs would be the liquidity would be increased through time, but the end point is to have a very safe liquidation mechanism that would also be having some kind of a small buffer that would be going to an insurance pool, and this insurance pool would be used entirely if a liquidation, for example, is missed.
Interesting. Okay, that's a really cool mechanism. Evan, do you have any other questions?
No, I mean, I'm just curious to see this thing when it's ready. Include me in the demo group or the beta group if you can. I'd be interested to play around with it. I guess maybe just one more question is like, at the beginning, I know that lending is going to be Axelar USDC, but what kind of assets do you see a user being able to borrow or lease on the platform?
Well, initially, it will be assets that are available on osmosis and have deep enough liquidity there. I think there will be 9 in total, the supported assets. You could, for instance, lease in wrapped Ethereum, wrapped BTC, Atom, Osmo, Juno, Secret, Crow, and Stars, I think, as well. And yeah, basically it depends on the liquidity depth of each of these assets that we want to integrate as lease, because of the lease options.
And this is just the beginning, right?
Yeah,
because with general message passing and the availability to tap liquidity from EVM chains, it is actually, there lies a lot of liquidity and a lot of tokens that have sufficient liquidity to be covered by the DeFi lease. And this is what we would be aiming as well afterwards.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited to go play around with this. When you guys have the beta going live, I'd love to have you guys on so we can actually see the process of taking out these loans, and see that in action, to see that ability to have sovereign custody of your assets after you take out your loan. I think it's a really interesting value prop. No one has ever made this before, so that's really exciting, and I'm glad you guys have brought it to the IBC world. It just makes sense, just from the sheer fact that there are so many different assets that people want to gain exposure to. Excited to see what you guys develop.
More than pleasure to do so, to do a live demo with you.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think we've got into a good stopping point here. I want to thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate you guys. As long as Evan, you don't have anything else to contribute here, I think we're good to move on to some other segments for today's live stream.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe just before you guys drop off, let the people know where they can go to find out more information.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having us. It was a pleasure. And as for social channels, you can of course follow us on Twitter, and our largest community is concentrated on Discord. So you can join in there as well, and engage in discussions with the community. And we have of course documentation for you to have a look at how the process works as well, and feel free to check that out.
Nolus Protocol is everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, in these channels. Nolus.io, the website.
Nice. Okay. If anyone's listening back to the podcast or just listening back to the YouTube video, the links will be in the description of the YouTube video, with everything that you guys can go check out Nolus. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
All right, Evan. How you doing?
All right.
How's your week been? How's beta testing OB going?
It's not bad. As you can see, my background looks a little bit different than usual. Of course, it's because I'm actually on a boat. I've been getting really heavily into quantum lately, like quantum computing. But the problem is running a quantum computer takes up a lot of heat, and so I've been on this boat, and I left out of Florida. I was in Florida with the OB team, meeting with Pete in Miami, or wherever he lives. Can't disclose, of course. And then I got a boat, as you can see behind me, and I've just been sailing directly south now. So my internet might be a little bit shoddy. I know the camera looks a little different, but I'm going to be on this boat for the foreseeable future because I'm trying to get down to the Antarctic area where quantum computing is ideal with how the heat and how cold it is. You can basically bury these large computers underground, and they don't take as much energy or cooling mechanisms. So if my internet's shoddy or for whatever reason, it's just because I'm sailing through the Bermuda Triangle or whatever.
Dude, that's crazy. And does Obi require quantum computing? Is it that much of a technological revolution?
It does, but only for certain aspects that I can't really disclose right now. Those people that are in the beta group that are working, helping us test it, and we call it Obi Labs. That's all vanilla kids stuff. It's for children. But we do have some stuff that we're going to have to actually release a white paper on, and it's going to revolutionize the game, and we're going to need quantum. So I've been set off to explore the Arctic. I am going to be, however, taking a trip to Denver next week. Are you going to East Denver?
No, I tried going, but I didn't get approval from Flipside to get funded to go. There are like 10 other people that are going, so I wasn't approved. I wasn't on the list of most essential people to go to the conference. It's okay though.
Well, I will be in Denver. I will be in Denver next week, Tuesday through Thursday. I'm just kind of in and out because I got a couple like specific events I want to go to. So if anybody's there, hit me up on Twitter if you want to hang out and grab a soda. And then of course I'll have to return to my ship that's heading south towards the Atlantic. I also saw, by the way, Flipside had some not a shout out, but did you see Coinbase's announcement today?
Yes. So Coinbase is launching a base chain. Flipside will be launching data support for the base chain. We've been working on that for a few months. To be honest, I didn't find out about the Coinbase stuff until yesterday because I think they knew that I was going to try to trade it. So they gave the information to a select group of people at Flipside, and I was not part of that select group. But I guess it makes sense because they don't want me trading on our internal alpha.
How could you even trade that?
Oh, dude, I would have traded you. Oh, if you wanted to trade that, I would have longed ETH. I would have longed ETH or would have longed Optimism because it's they're basically they're forking Optimism from what I know.
Gotcha.
Or it's a fork of Optimism, or it's like a subnet of Optimism. One or the two. It's probably the most bullish thing about Optimism that I've seen in a minute. To be honest, I've never been a big fan of Optimism. I've been really bearish, and I've honestly hated the way that they've marketed that chain.
I have never tried Optimism once. Sorry, my daughter keeps breaking into my ship cabin here, so she comes in.
Oh no.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right. Well, we can go ahead and just knock out the last segment of this week's show. We're going to go ahead and do the Flipside Insight of the Week. Steph, can you hit that Flipside Insight of the Week graphic while I get my screen on? This week, we're going to be diving into a little bit of a dashboard coming from Deebs DeFi. Apologies if the formatting of it is a little odd. Deebs, it's not full screen. What did you do, my guy? I love it. It's an incredible dashboard. It's very useful, but I wish it spanned all the way over here.
This is from Deebs DeFi. I know Deebs DeFi.
Yeah, Deebs DeFi, dude. He's a stellar guy. He's a Chad, and he actually compiled this basically this dashboard. Oh, we have a guest star joining us on the show. But yeah, he basically compiled this dashboard, and I hope she's going to be excited to learn about this. Is that now she can keep up with the most intricate whale data of all the Cosmos. This and I actually really appreciate Deebs DeFi going into this like dashboard and actually coming in with this mindset. It's kind of useless to be keeping track of just principal whales. Like if you wanted to see how concentrated a supply is, you can. But what if you wanted to keep a little bit of a bigger pulse on a week-to-week basis? If you wanted to actually look at what are the largest purchasers of like a specific asset on a weekly basis, and what are they doing with said assets, and you want to go track those people and see what they're doing with them. Well, Deeps DeFi has solved that problem for you. If you've ever been curious about what have been the largest purchases of Osmo, Atom, Wrapped ETH, Wrapped Bitcoin, Axelar, Stars, QG, all these ones that you see at the top right, he's basically grabbing all these assets from the Osmosis DEX, and he's keeping track of who are the largest swappers and when those swaps actually occurred. And here you can see that the biggest Osmosis whale purchased 665,000, nearly 666,000 Osmo tokens at an average price of 1. Here you can see the actual whales charted out. You can see where their trades actually occurred at, and see what average prices that they occurred at. And for me, this is really interesting just from the perspective of being able to see what these individuals go do with these assets afterwards, because I'm definitely going to be going through here, digging through these different addresses, and then going to see what the hell they're doing with these assets. Because definitely, like, it's rather interesting that 275,000 Atom was just purchased by one individual. Just really interesting there.
Yeah. Obviously, my daughter found it super interesting, which is why she came in and watched that part of the segment. She couldn't even hear, but she said it was amazing, and then had to run off and actually get this dashboard up on her own iPad that has like a cat.
She's probably gonna go buy some Bitcoin. Oh, there you go, Citrus Mimosa. Shout out to Nano for joining us. Evan's daughter is the new star of the show. She really is, though.
Yeah, she might end up coming back. So if you missed her, don't worry. We're stuck on this boat together in tight quarters, so she'll probably be on multiple episodes moving forward, as long as I'm on this boat heading towards Antarctica.
Is Do Kwon on the boat? Is Do Kwon heading to Antarctica with you guys?
I can or cannot confirm where Do Kwon is. That's
unfortunate. Well, I assumed that you would have tabs on him at all times, but I guess not. But yeah,
what else is going on in your world, Joseph?
Not much, honestly. I'm keeping an eye on everything that's going on in the different narratives that are going on in crypto. Right now, I guess I'm just kind of paying attention to this Coinbase news, the base chain. I think that's really interesting. I guess this could potentially be the chain that institutions have been waiting, because there could be a way where this chain almost starts enforcing KYC, and it could be this KYC playpen for these institutions where they actually know who they're doing different types of custodial trading with. And they can actually start knowing their customers. And I could see there being a pretty strong narrative coming into the DeFi ecosystems just because of this. Larger inflow of capital, more trust for the institutions, I guess. And it's got me in a weird bind, because I've always believed not your keys, not your crypto. But I also view that centralized exchanges are pretty crucial into the adoption of the crypto asset class.
Well, I'm going to take the exact opposite stance of you, Joseph. I hope the SEC sues Coinbase out of existence. I hope they sue Binance out of existence. I hope we just get rid of all these centralized exchanges. Props to Coinbase and Brian Armstrong and what they've done for the industry, but I don't really even understand what like the deal is with, like, today we saw Binance had to liquidate everyone in Australia's futures positions or something. Like, there's enough alternatives out there now that I don't understand why you're even trading futures on Binance. Go use GMX, go use Game, go use anything. I mean, there's so many different like perps platforms coming out. So yeah, I just I don't know, I'm just kind of annoyed, maybe. Annoyed. That's why I'm just annoyed with the industry in general, and it's kind of why I decided to get on this ship sailing towards Antarctica. And I just want to leave it all behind. And I've just had enough of these centralized exchanges, and like, why should the market cap of Bitcoin drop because Coinbase or Binance gets sued by the SEC? Like, what does Bitcoin have to do with Binance? Like, when you boil it down, companies like Binance, they basically just took advantage of, created a stock exchange with full custody over users' assets in a time when those hadn't been like they didn't have time for for regulators to catch up. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
oh, we're hitting a wave. This captain just made an announcement that we're hitting some chop, as they like to say, just like we're hitting chop in the Bitcoin market. But I don't know. I'm just like, I'm waiting for this sort of like shift away from the whatever crypto is now, where it's like everybody just goes on Binance or goes on Coinbase to like use it. And I'm waiting for people to actually learn about self-custody and learn about what like we're all here for and the point of it. And I'm just frustrated, Joseph. I'm frustrated, and I'm hoping that, you know, I'm hoping that I find answers down in Anarcho when I finally get there.
I think the self-custody question won't get solved until I just don't think it will get solved until true financial primitives that don't rug people consistently or within a 4-year span can keep operating.
Yeah, but
Because,
what
like,
is a financial primitive that rugged people?
I mean, I guess I guess I would call FTX a financial primitive of sorts. I
It's
wouldn't
not
say
a
that it's,
financial primitive. That's totally derivative. That's totally derivative.
but
FTX just uses numbers on a screen
yeah,
that represent crypto that actually exists on a blockchain.
I
Right?
agree. I
So it's
agree that it's
derivative of the
not.
real thing.
Yeah, no,
I
I
mean, if you want
agree
to
that
say
it is derivative of the real thing.
there's a primitive that rug people, you could say Anchor or UST. I wouldn't call it a rug from my opinion, but you know, that's a huge argument that I've been having online for the last 12 months of my life, where, you know, there's a difference between a fail and a rug. So
Yeah.
anyway, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you. I don't think that, like, I mean, I guess from a retail investor's perspective, they would consider that a primitive, like being able to just come to this one singular platform, and they genuinely don't have the education to understand
Right.
the sovereignty question. Because, like, I think a lot of retail investors have gotten into this perspective that when they buy a digital asset, when they buy a digital coin, they just think that it's like some gambling opportunity. They do not view it as I'm interacting with controlling an asset on this rail that I have a
Right.
password manager to.
Well,
So
and it's like, do we even want those people in the space? It's a question that I'm starting to ask myself, because at this point, like, part of the advantage of being early, as people like to call themselves,
yeah,
is you are willing to kind of like understand what's going on and go deal with, you know, the pain in the ass of bridging to a new layer one, or I don't know, whatever, like dealing with swaps and understanding all the technical know-how and stuff that goes into that, which really isn't much at the end of the day. It's not like we're asking you to like program in C or something crazy.
yeah.
We're asking you to just deal with interfaces that aren't as clean as, sorry, the iPhone or Facebook. Like, sorry, normie, boomer, clown, that it's easier for you to just go to Coinbase. Here's an interesting story. Now I'm going on a tangent.
I like the
I was
tangent.
sitting at my favorite local walk hole. This might have been last week actually. And these two older guys, you know, they had to have been in their 50s. They start talking about Bitcoin, and one of them, he says he's a Bitcoin miner. And even though he was 55, he was still a miner. It was kind of crazy. Just kidding. Anyway, he showed me all these pictures, and he said like his nephew, who I guess is more like our age, was the one that kind of ran the operations, and he just invested in it or whatever. And I mean, they had a pretty serious Bitcoin mining operation going on. So we just started talking, and this other guy at the bar who like hates crypto, he's an accountant, and I've had multiple basically arguments with the guy. He starts like asking what's the difference between a crypto transaction and like just wiring money. And this guy who is like, you know, the ambassador of like our world for 55-year-olds, he goes, well, what you do is you get a Coinbase account, and that account is on chain, and that's untraceable. And I'm just like, dude, I'm not even gonna like waste time correcting you because you're such an idiot. Like what? Like
Yeah.
it just sucks. Like I don't know if necessarily having these centralized, like easier to use sort of platforms like Binance and Coinbase. I mean, I use Coinbase to off ramp. That's it, right? I just don't know if like having this like do everything in one spot, and and you don't have any sovereign rights over your assets. I don't think that's healthy for the industry, for the for the space. And I don't think that, if you can get sued by the SEC, then there's probably an issue with that. You were centralized, or you had too much power. I mean, you could say the same thing about TFL and their issues, and Doe, and
Yeah.
maybe that's part of the reason why, like, you look at Satoshi, and the fact that Satoshi could stay anonymous and have that wallet with, 1 million Bitcoin in it, and none of that Bitcoin ever moves. I mean, it's just an amazing testament to how far ahead that individual or group of individuals thought about, being basically resistant to governments and, regulations or whatever. Like, if the government right now stepped in and was like, okay, Bitcoin's illegal, it's like, well, in which jurisdiction is it illegal? And if I just use a VPN, I'm going to step around it. Now, it might wreck the price, but at the end of the day, and we are starting to see, now we're really going off on tangents. I don't know, Joseph, I'm going to ask you a question because I don't want to be the only one talking. What do you think of the dollar as the world reserve currency and its status, and what do you predict might happen in the next 2 decades with that?
I think that if crypto adoption, or just the adoption of cognizant regulation for digital assets doesn't take place, I think that the dollar could be in jeopardy. I view that reserve assets for the world get defined upon either one, from militaristic actions, or two, from technological innovation. And I think that the U.S. has done both things for the past 100 years. Has been the area of sheer success for technological innovation, and also just warfare. And I think that the New York Stock Exchange, the invention of it and the success of it, has basically put the dollar where it is. And I think that until the next wave of massive tech gets developed, or the next wave of global conflict happens that destroys economies and can destroy entire monetary systems, I think the dollar will maintain its position as a monetary reserve currency. But I do agree that blockchain, AI, maybe, I think any sort of tech that we're playing with right now could be the tech that ends up dethroning the US dollar. I don't know. That's my take.
Interesting. I think that we're already starting to see a little bit of a step down, or at least a little bit of a tightening in the race, or a narrowing of the lead that the US dollar has as the world reserve currency. Somebody tweeted an interesting chart the other day. Maybe Steph? Is Steph here?
Yeah, Steph's in the shadows. He's lurking.
Maybe you or Steph could bring it up, or I should be able to bring it up, actually.
Yeah, your internet's improving. I think as you get closer to Antarctica, I think you're starting to get into the reception towers of Antarctica.
As I get closer to the Arctic Circle, I thought this was interesting. Let me share my screen here.
The Arctic Circle.
I will be in Denver again. I'll have to somehow figure out how to sail into Denver and then get back on track. This is the historical timeline of reserve currencies. And if you look, you can go all the way back to the, pardon my Greek here, the Greek drachma, I think.
Yeah.
Steph, how would you pronounce that? Steph's Greek. But you see, you see it's got a 300 years kind of reign here. Or I'm sorry.
Yeah.
300 years. Yeah, 500 BC to 200 BC.
That's definitely 800 years. That's wrong. That should be 800.
Yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong. It should be 700, right?
I can't do math. Yeah, it should be 700.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what a great chart I brought up, where it's just the first thing we're looking at is completely wrong. But it's just interesting if you look at the historical timeline of reserve currencies. A lot of these, are fairly short-lived, especially as you move into the more modern ones, starting with the Portuguese real, the Spanish real, Dutch guilder, Spanish real, French franc, all that good stuff. And then you have to realize that currencies in general predate governments, right? I think it's an interesting argument I hear from a lot of people. There's oh, you think Bitcoin is cool? It's totally, what do you think that commerce just started? Do you think governments had to invent commerce? You don't think people measured like wealth or labor or value or any of that shit, like before the government came along and told them like, here's a tool to do it with? No, obviously it was around before, governments were here to tell us anything. So it'll be interesting to see, 1920s
around the invention of the
now. That's
stock
about
exchange. Yeah, around the invention of the New York Stock Exchange, the U.S. dollar dethrones the British pound.
right. Got about 100 years. That's on par with the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The reign of the last 6. A lot of people speculate that it could be Chinese RMB. It's interesting. I don't know. It's interesting. I think a lot of it has to do with oil too, and part of the U.S.'s push to like move away from fossil fuels is to maybe create like, I don't know. See, I don't know. It's interesting because you have to swap into USD, buy oil. So moving into like EV, or just like purely like renewables isn't necessarily great for the US dollar anyway. But maybe the US is like, hey, let's position ourselves to be like the world exporter of EV technology or renewables in general.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's really interesting. I know my time when I worked as a solar engineer, and so you convinced me to take my career into the Ponzi of the world. When I worked in solar, all of our solar panels came from China, and I think that at one moment in time, I think I read a paper that basically said that 75% of solar panels, I think it's over that now, 75% of solar panels actually get fabricated and manufactured in China. The vast majority of them get manufactured there and they get shipped over here. There are some solar panel manufacturers that are based out of North America. Typically, the ones that are based out of North America are not going to be in the U.S. The ones that are in the U.S. are way too expensive. The cheaper ones will be coming from Mexico or coming from Canada. And so those are kind of the big places. If you want to get renewable solar panels, if you want to get solar panels, you're probably going to be ordering them from China because that's where the cash flow. They're cheaper. It's just inevitably cheaper to get them shipped across the Pacific Ocean than to purchase them from a direct distributor in North America.
Right. I mean, everything's cheaper from China just because I think it's a combination of like the labor laws, and then you've got like their currency. They will debase their own currency just to make exports cheaper, right?
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I don't necessarily jump to the like quick conclusion that Chinese RMB would be the next reserve currency.
You would have
I don't know, man. Maybe it'll be non-fiat. What do you think of that idea? Maybe it'll be non-fiat.
That's an interesting proposition, and that is why Bitcoin exists, and that is why we are hoarding it, and we're stacking sats. I guess that's the fruition of the thesis of sats, is that at some point in time in globalist perception, people will move away from the thought of having a monetary system defined by governments, and it's more of a globally social thing. But then again, I go into the conversation of what is a government. To me, a government is just a whole bunch of people who have money. That's what a government is to me. that's how
I would actually define it as I would go one level more precise, and I would define it as a bunch of people who have power. Not I don't know if money. I think that money is a result of power, and you decide. Just like with the U.S. dollar, I mean, kind of in vein with the conversation we're having now, you decide what the money is when you have the power, right? So, if I have the power, I can just I can say, okay, well, if you want to export oil, I mean, you have OPEC, which is these countries like sovereign countries that aren't the U.S. that are only allowed to sell oil in U.S. dollar. That's not their currency. That's our currency.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did we come up with that relationship? Well, it all boils down to basically the military at that point.
The military industrial complex, and how the oil industry convinced everyone that there were bombs in Iraq. So, I mean,
well, do you know that? Well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, I was just gonna say that that's why I believe that that the U.S. like the dollar will maintain its power just from the sheer fact that we keep spending money on the military, and we also like as you mentioned, we keep having control of these key assets. That in order to do commerce around them, in order to do like commerce around them, you have to go through the U.S. dollar. It's like the inflow of power because oil directly equals access to energy, access to vehicles, access to a major tech that everyone around the world uses in order to maintain a competitive edge in economies and in like actual production scales.
This is an interesting article I'm looking at right now. This is from The Guardian, dated February 15th, 2003. So almost a little bit over exactly 20 years ago. Iraq nets handsome profit by dumping dollar for euro. A bizarre political statement by Saddam Hussein has earned Iraq a windfall of hundreds of millions of euros. In October 2000, Iraq insisted on dumping the US dollar, the currency of the enemy, for the more multilateral euro. The changeover was announced on almost exactly the same day that the euro reached its lowest EBB, buying just 82 cents on the dollar. But it's just interesting. Look at timing between Iraq deciding that they were going to, sell, basically get rid of selling oil for the dollar and start selling it for the euro and start reserving the euro. Look at the timing between that and Saddam Hussein getting dragged through the streets and beaten to death and his statue being taken down in that iconic moment when America was all these heroes where we went over to the Middle East and, like we were really, really good at like only killing the bad guys, right? There's never any casualty or gray area or anything.
Like innocent people are definitely not hurt by doing all of this in the process.
Right. So I don't know. It's an interesting timeline if you look at, and then of course, like the whole point of us even going into Iraq in the first place was kind of piggybacked off the momentum from, everybody all rabble-roused about 9/11, and it was like, well, wait a minute, did Iraq do 9/11 or did Afghanistan? Like, why are we going to Iraq all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So yeah, who knows? We're way off on a tangent here.
Yeah, no, I love these tangents. I miss our Twitter Spaces on Saturdays because I think on our Twitter Spaces on Saturdays, these are the types of conversations we would have. I enjoy having these conversations because I don't get to have these conversations with individuals on a day-to-day basis. No one really sits down and thinks, what's going to happen to the global reserve currency? And let's be honest. I mean, that's what the invention of a ledger and blockchain tech has given the ability to do, is to create your own monetary systems. And that's why I completely changed course of careers in my life. It was the realization of what this does, for not just from a perspective of what it can do for individuals, but also what it can do for just the world itself. So.
Right. And I think that, just to circle back to what we were talking about earlier, I think it's a shame that most people are just like, oh, let's go on Binance, like coin has dog.
Coin has dog. But I mean, I think that's
if I send Steph an image right now, can he put it up on the screen? It's like the perfect embodiment of how I feel. Hold on, Steph, I'll send it to you. Go ahead, Joseph. Sorry.
No, I completely agree with you. It's ridiculous. I mean, when I have conversations with regular everyday people around me, or even just like older generation folk, not as old as you, Evan. I think they're older. Somehow someone's older than you. Those people
Thanks.
Probably in their deep 40s.
Pete's older than me.
Oh yeah, Pete is older than you, so probably around Pete's age. Those people, I've had people just tell me like, yeah, I bought this token and I managed to make $50 off of it. I wonder if people had the same reaction to like the stock exchange, crypto then.
Here's the image. Crypto then. We solved the Byzantine general's problem and created a global decentralized currency. Crypto now. Coin has dog. he's stuffing an octagon block into a round hole. Oh, that's fun.
That is
That
literally
kills
what's
me.
going on. That's literally what's going on.
I mean, it's an amazing, like, to even understand the Byzantine general's problem is, and how that was solved basically, mathematically, or however you want to describe it, with basically consensus. It's an amazing feat. It's an amazing, technology, and it seems like people just jump in and they're like, oh, Shiba Inu, like this is, yeah, and then
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know.
I think it's just
Speaking of,
because of it's the inherent tie to value. That's what it is. It's the inherent tie to value. And I think that the overall space has become very financialized, where the expectation is like, if you buy token, it's supposed to go up. Like, that's just kind of the perception. And personally, I think that NFTs are going to be the next evolution to that type of mentality, because I just think that NFTs are going to be a major upside over the next like 5 years. I think NFTs are going to have a major inflow of speculative purchasing, because I think people have had that gambling phase with tokens yet. I think NFTs, once they reach this new wave of adoption curve and you can financialize them and you can create liquidity pools with them, and you can gate most things with like traditional businesses, I think NFTs are going to have major amounts of speculation, and we're going to witness some of the largest NFT purchases over the next 5 to 10 years. But
in that vein, I saw an interesting tweet as well. See, I don't even have to prepare for the show. All I need to do is just remember shit that I looked at.
yeah, we just chat about it, because like there's always something going on in crypto.
I don't
The
know how
Coinbase news is
legit.
wild.
I don't know how legit this is, but this tweet piqued my interest here. So this is somebody, Altcoin Daily, which is a fairly, I would say, I don't know, like people know who that is. Looks like coming to Spotify, NFT crypto.
Yes. Yeah.
Welcome to Spotify's token-enabled pilot. We're happy you're here. Once you click the link that was shared on Kingship's official Discord and Twitter, you will go through the below experience to access the exclusively curated playlist. Reminder, this is experience for Android users only in the US. I mean, it looks like it might be legit, because why would, in like just someone doing a bullshit mock-up, have like, reminder, this experience is for Android users only in like these jurisdictions? It'd just be like some sexy layout, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It looks like Kingship has an exclusive playlist.
Yeah.
You tap on an icon to play it, you connect, and then you, I guess, like verify that you have like whatever the Kingship NFT is, and then you can access that content. You sound like you know about this already, Joseph.
Yeah, I already dug into it. There's like 4 collections that you actually have access to it. Moonbirds are amongst them. So there's like 4 NFT collections that you can hold one of those NFTs, and you can get access to these curated playlists. There's some form of token game going on there, where if you're like listening to music, it creates like a token economy of sorts to curate those playlists. I'm not sure how the token component works, but I know that they're gating access to those playlists that are curated based off of activity just from you holding an NFT. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Pete has a Moonbird. Pete could get access to this.
Yeah. Steph just said, Joseph, your mic sounds like shit. I thought maybe it was my headphones or my internet, but yeah, you do sound terrible. So fix that. I think this will be interesting to see. Spotify especially is particularly egregious with like licensing, and how they essentially are a platform of just a bunch of people's like content, right? Other people's content that they monetize, and they don't really give much kickback to the artist. And it would be interesting to see them pivot to a new direction in which like I don't know who Kingship is in this circumstance. Is that an artist, or is that just someone who curated a playlist?
That's I think that's an NFT collection. I think that's an NFT
okay.
collection.
So they've curated this specific playlist, which is kind of lame. Like, I don't give a shit about your playlist. Just because I'm in your NFT community doesn't mean I like the same music as you. But it will be interesting to see if the artists, like, let's just say, who's your favorite artist, Joseph? Name me an artist.
I guess right now I've been listening.
Now I can't hear you at all.
You can't hear me at all? What? It says it's going through. Steph, can you hear me?
A lot of Sino. Sorry, it's just lagged really bad.
Oh, it's just lagging. Yeah, Smino. All right.
Nino?
Smino. All right. I think we might
What
as well
is
just call the
Smino?
show.
I've never even heard
You
of
don't you've never heard of that? He's a rapper
right,
from
so-
he's a rapper from Louisiana.
Ape Depto TV says try Playboy Cardi music. Let's just say Playboy Cardi. Is that a boy or a girl?
Bro, you don't know Playboy Cardi? Holy shit, you're old.
Is it a boy or a girl?
Bro, that is literally a girl.
It's literally a girl. I guess nowadays you have to define if it's literally or I don't know, in other terms, a girl. So gotcha. So it's literally a girl. Playboy Cardi. I mean, I know Cardi B. That's not the same person, right? Steph said it's a guy. Okay, Playboy Cardi. Say he or she or whatever pronoun they decide to use on whatever specific day. They have an NFT that kind of gates the community. Spotify would be an amazing interface to do that with, right? Because you could essentially have all of your users or all of your listeners. If it's like Playboy Cardi comes up with this new album, but you have to have the Playboy Cardi NFT, and they get royalties on that. For them to shake hands in partnership with Spotify on that would be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I do fully agree. I think NFT space is going to see some major stuff coming in for artists pretty soon.
Yeah, I think licensing is the logical next step for NFTs. What's a Playboy Cardi song that I would know? I mean, I might know a song.
Pretty popular. I mean, they're always like on like major playlists. They play them at like sports events and shit like that.
So you can't name a song either.
Sky, Miss the Rage, Magnolia. Magnolia is really popular.
You know who I've been into? They've been playing over the loudspeakers on the ship here. Is Pop Smoke,
Pop
a rapper
Smoke.
I just learned about from New York. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You're getting into the rap scene. You're early in the rap scene.
He's pretty good. I might see if I can get some concerts to go see him in concert. Get some tickets to his concert.
Nice. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Vic Mensa is the GOAT.
Yeah.
I agree. Shout out to Ape Depto. Thank you for joining us today. I see Ape Depto out there in the audience. Appreciate you joining us. Whole Lot of Red is the best.
Whole Lot of Red is the best. How about like Led Zeppelin? Did you guys like Led Zeppelin?
Of course. I mean, that's Led Zeppelin. Wow. Okay. Are you an original rock music fan guy?
I'm all over the map. I love all genres. I typically switch back and forth between, like, if I'm just working, I'll switch back and forth between like some kind of rap playlist and a like drum and bass playlist, liquid drum and bass. I like a lot of electronic stuff. I like rap. I like country. Pete hates country.
Chris Stapleton.
I like it all.
Chris
Stapleton's sick.
Yeah. Steph is a huge fan of Chris Stapleton. The other day we were talking.
I thought he killed it at the. Oh wait, one thing I wanted to bring up. We made a bet on the Super Bowl, and I forget who I bet on.
Oh, I bet on.
You had the Chiefs. Joseph had the Eagles.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure that was for 1 Bitcoin.
What?
That was for 1 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Bro, okay. I'm gonna have to message the Nolus team and ask for a quick little lease. I'm gonna have to take out a lease on some. I'm gonna have the down payment. I'll get you that 1 Bitcoin.
No, what was it really for? Was it for 50 Canto or 5 Canto or something?
It was some amount of Canto. I'll send it to your wallet. Steph, do you remember what amount of Canto it was?
10 Canto. Steph, you couldn't lie and give me more than that?
I already gave you the whole Bitcoin. I don't know what more you want from me.
All right, so it's 1 Bitcoin and 10 Canto. Perfect.
One Bitcoin and 10 Canto. All right, I can get you the 10 Canto within like the next minute. It's gonna take a little bit of moving around to get the 1 Bitcoin. Not gonna lie.
All right. Well, I'm sure you'll figure it out.
All right. I think we're good for this week's show. I think I've had a blast. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Evan, do you have anything else to say to the audience?
No, but we won't be able to do a show next week because I'll be in Denver, as I've mentioned 3 times
you'll be in Denver. Okay. Sorry for missing last week's show, guys. we'll see if we can get a pre-recorded interview. When are you leaving?
Tuesday through Thursday.
Shit. Okay. There might not be an episode next week, guys. Evan has
Looks
gone
like we're
dark
hitting
mode.
some rough patches on the ocean here. My light just went out.
The show is going down, everyone. We're the ship is probably going to sink in the middle of the ocean. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Bytes Digital Show. Check us out on all the major streaming platforms. Check us out on YouTube. Drop a comment, drop a like, say whatever you want to say to us. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one.
Goodbye.